The plot centers on a group of specialists, each with unique knowledge and skills, sent on a secret mission. Psychologist Norman receives an unexpected offer from the U.S. government. He must go to the South Pacific to participate in the study of a mysterious object found on the ocean floor. Norman recalls that a few years ago he wrote a government report describing what to do in case of contact with an extraterrestrial life form, but he did not take this document seriously and did not expect that he would ever be called upon to perform such an assignment. Upon arriving at the site, Norman meets the other members of the mission. Among them is biologist Beth Halperin, who works with marine life and specializes in the behavior of living things in deep-sea environments. Physicist Harry Adams, a distinguished scientist, is also on board, although at first he seems withdrawn and reluctant to make contact. Captain Harold Barnes is another key character, leading the expedition from the military side. There are other specialists such as mathematician Theodore Fielding and astronomer Ted Levine, but Norman, Beth, Harry, and Barnes are at the center of things. The group dives in a bathyscaphe a great distance underwater to an abandoned object that turns out not to belong to mankind. Once inside the underwater base, they discover that the object is a spaceship that has lain on the ocean floor for over 300 years. Inside the ship, they find a mysterious sphere of enormous size. It looks like a perfect, smooth object that reflects everything around it, yet its surface somehow seems to absorb the reflections of people standing nearby. Researchers can't figure out what it's made of or how it got there. Scientific instruments can't determine its origin, but one thing is clear: it's something from another world. Internal tensions between the characters begin to build as they try to unravel the mystery of the orb. Harry, being the most curious of the bunch, is the first to show interest in the object and makes a risky attempt to go inside the sphere. While the rest of the mission remains outside, Harry disappears for a few hours and then returns, claiming to remember nothing. Soon, however, strange and unexplained events begin to occur. A series of strange phenomena begin to occur on the base, including equipment malfunctions, sudden temperature changes, and mysterious messages on computers, which are soon revealed to be coming from a being calling himself Jerry. This being speaks to the group via text on a screen and claims that his consciousness lives inside the sphere. These events shake up the fears of the mission's participants. Norman, despite his professionalism, begins to suspect that Harry's stay inside the sphere has changed his psyche and may even have given him some unknown abilities. Beth, on the other hand, believes that everything is the result of their own minds interacting with an unknown force emanating from the orb. She concludes that the sphere is somehow realizing the thoughts and fears of those who interact with it. Soon these fears begin to materialize, creating increasingly dangerous and frightening situations. During one night, the team encounters an aggressive jellyfish that unexpectedly attacks one of the mission members. This results in Fielding's death. This incident leads the remaining members of the team to believe that Jerry's creature is controlling what happens on the base. One day, Harry begins to say mysterious things and his behavior becomes increasingly erratic. He claims to be communicating with Jerry directly and that the creature wants to play with them like toys. Norman feels increasingly tense and begins to question whether the creature really wants to harm them or whether they themselves have become hostage to their own fears. When the situation becomes critical, Norman, Beth, and Barnes decide that it is necessary to destroy the sphere and leave the base. However, during this time, strange events continue to occur. At one point, images of sharks appear on the base that seem real, but disappear as quickly as they appeared. Beth finds herself under extreme stress and finds it increasingly difficult to control her emotions, further jeopardizing the mission. With each new manifestation of the sphere's power, it becomes clear that not only Harry, but the other members of the team have unwittingly become its carriers and can now accidentally unleash their deepest fears and desires. Norman realizes that they are all on the verge of a breakdown and that the sphere is using their psyche against them. He concludes that everything that happens on the base is the result of their interaction with the sphere. It materializes their thoughts, fears, and desires, turning them into reality. The scariest moment comes when they realize that if any of them give in to panic or emotion, it could lead to catastrophic consequences. To save their lives, they must learn to control their thoughts. The remaining team members decide that the only way to stop what is happening is to return to the surface and forget everything they have learned about the sphere. They realize that if they retain information about its existence in their memories, it may continue to affect them after they leave the base. During the evacuation process, a series of final tests take place where each of them must confront their inner fears and desire to hold on to control. When Beth succumbs to panic and becomes paranoid, Norman helps her realize that their only chance for salvation is to work together and control their thoughts. Finally, they successfully return to the surface. Aboard the ship, they come together to discuss a plan of action. Harry, Beth, and Norman decide that they must collectively forget the existence of the orb so that it cannot affect them further. They join forces and agree to forget everything that happened under the water. When they do so, the orb disappears as if it never existed. The three survivors return to the normal world, having completely erased the experience from their memories.